Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mupo and Friends. Our special guest today is an actress, writer, producer, director, but her first love is the love of language. She is a dialogue coach for film, television, and stage, has edited scripts for language authenticity, and coach high-level professionals in many fields. Please welcome Esther Caporale. Hello, Esther.
Hello,
Welcome.
Esther. Thank you for
Hello,
coming.
ladies. Thank you.
It's an honor. So, for the record, let's get this out. It's a one on one because she's from New Jersey, born from New Jersey, and she lives in California.
Many
So,
years. Yes.
so
So one for the West Coast, one for the
we'll
East
have to do
Coast.
it. Yeah, we'll have to do a deuce for that. Definitely. Now, I'm dying to ask. So, um, was being a dialogue coach your original path since you do so many things?
Actually, I had come to California to UCLA, and I was really a language and English literature major. And I was in Mexico City and began to work accidentally as an interpreter for the film director Irvin Kershner, who later went on to do Empire Strikes Back, huge films. So I always had one foot in languages and one foot in the entertainment business. And after running various programs, the two careers absolutely converged in dialect coach work. A dialogue coach is a little different, but dialect really works with foreign sounds being intelligible in English. So that's a little difference.
How did you end up doing dialogue coaching in the entertainment industry specifically?
I was still working in production and development, reading scripts, making notes on scripts, dialect and dialogue work really. And more actors were coming to my sessions, and they had specific private needs for audition, pre-production, production, ADR, post-production. So at one point I finally had to leave more the academic side of things. And because I had a long background from the 70s in entertainment, there really wasn't much of a transition. It was just shifting focus. I still work with the international community because it keeps my ear very sharp for what errors or what challenges you have from a foreign language to perform in English. So we're not trying to get rid of their accent, we're making them intelligible. Imagine Antonio Banderas without a Spanish accent. You know,
Right.
we're not trying to get rid of that's kind of the sexy part of things. So because I live in Beverly Hills, we have access to at least 32 foreign languages in this area. If we add up all of those, when I work with them, it keeps reminding me of what challenges they will have when they speak English. So
So, how many language do you actually speak, and how should I say this? How many have come in handy in your coaching?
I study German, French, Spanish, and Italian. So I would say I'm much more comfortable in Spanish. And that comes in extremely handy when I work. I have a lot of Spanish speaking actors from Barcelona, from Madrid, Canary Islands, Mexico, South America. And I only fall back on it recently, of course, with Blue Demon from Mexico City, when they're not getting the nuance, and then I'll go over because I'm trying to keep them immersed in English. But speaking Spanish is an extremely helpful tool. Helps a lot.
Absolutely. You said you use the old school teaching technique. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Well, before even the technique is establishing the liaison, the intimacy with a person, working with a foreign actor is completely based on trust. There's a certain affection level. It's a long relationship. I have students from 7 years ago. If they're auditioning in English, they'll contact me. But I don't use a lot of the technology. It's really getting them to do their first effort, making my notes. When they get the script, they send me the pages. before I do a session with them, I will annotate the pages. I know very much what challenges or mistakes they're going to make in those pages. And then we work together. When I'm with them in person, I actually will move their lips, we have a very forward way of speaking, you talking to me, these little physical challenges, because the articulators, it's part of your physical being. I'll give them images that make sense to them. If they're creating consonants that are too mashed potato-y, I'll ask them to do me a potato chip instead. So it's very old school. It's repetition, modeling. I will also, for all auditions if necessary, I'll record the lines performance neutral after we've worked on the lines, so that they'll then use their headphones, of course, and they'll repeat along. And first always is pronunciation, second is performance. If they do the performance first, they'll get married to a certain read of the line, and it may not be correct. So we always performance after they've worked with the pronunciation. And then I'm on set with them if necessary. I'll have headphones geared completely to my actor. And if there's an issue, we usually don't correct an actor in front of the cast and crew and the director. We go off to the side a little. There's a lot of diplomacy involved to correct someone in a meaningful way and for speed. When you're on set, you don't have the luxury of wasted time. So very old school, very, very old school.
So do you
I
stay on
like it.
set throughout the whole course of production, or is most of the, like, are you on there part-time with them?
No, as I'll usually, for instance, we recently shot the pilot for Blue Demon Jr. for Disney. Wherever the actor is, I am, even in his dressing room with him, because if they change a line, if they suddenly change the line of dialogue, if you change a line of dialogue with an English speaker, it's no big deal. When you change dialogue for a second language speaker, we have to quickly go in and make our adjustments, bob and weave, and make them comfortable, because they're, you have a crew waiting there. So I'll stay with my actor until we call a wrap. Yeah, the whole time.
Wow.
Now, you did some acting yourself. Did you enjoy it, and would you do it again?
Listen, I worked with a very famous director for many, many years. And he often tried to get me to do a part in these shows, which I wanted nothing to do with. And the situation with the acting is I had an actor who was doing a short film, and he came here in pre-pandemic days, and it was called John and Juliet, written by the son of a very, very famous Spanish writer. And I recorded the lines as a joke, as if a human radio, just to hold the space so that he could work with it. And it was kind of like, hi, John. I'm in here, John, as a total joke. The director bonded with the performance, and the actor's name is Christian Rodrigo, very fine actor. Esther, they want to do it. I said, absolutely not. I refuse. I'm not an actress. And that was the fluke of that acting assignment. And of course, he put it on IMDb. It was on Amazon for a while. Yep. But basically, that was one acting situation. And then I did a short film about the homeless where I did the voice. So, quote unquote, I wrote it, I directed it, I acted in it, but it was to shine a meaningful, positive light on the crisis of homelessness. It was a public service kind of thing.
You wrote about the homeless people and you directed it. So we're very much, Holly, tell us about the project that we're doing, and maybe she can help us with it.
It's called Keep the Peace, and it's the mission is to build homes for homeless veterans.
Wonderful. Anything I can do to help.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because I'm sure that there's a lot of veterans that, believe it or not, that fought on the US battlefield and they don't speak English. I don't know if people realize that.
Right.
Third of the homeless are Vietnam vets or vets. Yes, and in this area, we have an enormous homeless challenge. And it breaks my heart that you never see anyone by these encampments with a clipboard trying to help them. You
Right.
just see them stumbling around in their tents. I feel very strongly that we must intervene, which is why the name of the film I did is called Uncovered. It uncovered our bias against homeless people. I'll send you the film. It's very powerful, very short, but extremely powerful.
Am I going to
About
cry?
surveillance. Yes, most
I would
people.
love I would love to see it. No,
Yes.
Me too.
that's beautiful. When you said you were doing that, I was like, that's deep that you did a PSA and are making an impact.
And it's
That
dedicated to
is,
Miguel Angel Silvestre, who, as you know, is a huge actor from Spain.
Yeah.
Was it was something of my surveillance equipment. I showed it to him, and I said, I think this is a film. And he said, Sister, it is absolutely a film. So when you see it here, it's dedicated to him. Very sweet guy. Probably one of the 10 most handsome men on planet Earth. I highly recommend
wow.
showing a picture of him.
Okay.
Easy on the
Awesome.
eye.
Can,
Yeah.
can you tell
I
us
like
about,
easy on the eyes.
I'm sorry?
awesome. I was going to say, can you tell us about Keep Beverly Hills English Classes Open to the World? What is it about?
That really was a political battle because Beverly Hills, as you know, is a hub of so many different cultures. And the state financing had run out. And I went to the city hall, to the city council and the mayor. I know all these people, it's a small town, with 100 people from all over the world who spoke in support of keeping English learning open in Beverly Hills. To me, it was a form of discrimination to close an English program in such a multicultural environment. We have visiting scholars from UCLA, from USC. I have MD, PhDs. These are all professional people or people who
Wow.
they just need the language. They don't need college credit. I've also taught at UCLA, but this is my community and this was my focus. So it was just a political statement, which we won, to reestablish and make sure that there would always be English classes open in the Beverly Hills area. So, and I would still fight for them. I mean, my grandparents didn't speak English, on both sides. So
Mm,
coming from that, as you know, when you come from a background where there's a foreign language in the house, it gives you, I feel, a tenderness towards people who are struggling, for personal advancement, for professional advancement. And it's really the same technique to help them as to help an actor. It's the same basic
right.
approach.
I think
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I think every family has been through that, whether it's from 3 generations ago or 2 generations or 1 generation. It's the key is to just treat people with respect and be patient.
And especially now with all this anti-immigrant behavior, unpatriotic behavior, what happened at the Capitol, I feel more strongly than ever that to break down the walls between people, you have to start with language. You can bring in other aspects of culture, but until we accept each other on a linguistic basis, we can't go forward. So,
She sounds like you, Holly.
You set a very good presence for compassion and understanding of people through language. I think that that's incredible in the work that you're doing, the the strong message that you convey. I wanted to ask you, what do you do to tweak a script? What does non-native authentic mean?
with no disrespect, because I'm a Writers Guild member, to people who write, many scripts will come across my desk, or if I'm hired as a coach for the show, that the writer wrote a wonderful line of dialogue if someone were a native English speaker.
Mm,
Sometimes it'll either be the word order or the word choice that is literally unpronounceable for a second language performer. So,
mm,
as actually happened even a little bit with the Blue Demon show, we go in, I first work with the actor and give options of what we could possibly do to preserve the writer's intention, the integrity of the dramatic moment. We then very respectfully deal with the director and the writer. We don't just simply rewrite things and say this is what it's going to be. So it's very much a collaborative effort that starts with myself and the actor. And I really know by looking at it in 2 minutes, like I know this will never fly. I could give you examples if I had script on the desk, but this way everybody's happy. They, you know, if it doesn't preserve the intention of the writer, of course, that's absolutely unacceptable. But we have to, no matter how handsome or beautiful an actor or actress is, if they're unintelligible in a dramatic format, we have no show.
Right.
So in the case of Blue Demon, he lives in Mexico City. He's a very cultured man. He's a wonderful writer. He's a wonderful painter. He's a very sensitive, interesting fellow. He simply has English as a second language and he doesn't speak it at home. So with that script, we did some little modifications with permission. And then you go forward very happily. And also, you have to keep in mind that if you're going to do ADR, which is dubbing after the fact, if you have to go into the sound recording situation, if you say sister and you flip your tongue, your lips will not be forward. If you say sister and the end position is here, it will be easier for us to match on screen. So certain things like that, I'm looking ahead to what happens if we have to re-record these lines. Either if there was an error on the actor's part or they wanted a different performance or an airplane went by. There are many reasons why you have to do dubbing. We're really revoicing. And you're working with a working print of the television show or the film. And, you know, some people are very good at it. Some people have a little more of a challenge. But when you anticipate where your articulators are going to be, if the word is ah at the end, we want a low jaw. If he says mama, but if he says mama, now it won't match. So these are the little technical things that you have to keep in mind as well.
That is very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a slower pace of English that you're teaching so that they can grasp it, right?
Well, it starts everything in my system of teaching, everything starts with the vowels.
Okay.
People argue about the amount of vowels. We basically have, we'll say, about 15 vowel sounds. Spanish, Italian, other languages have 5 vowel sounds. So I have something called the Vowel Bible, which is printed out with sentences that contextually present those vowel sounds. I've also recorded an audio. So all roads lead to the vowels. And then
Beautiful.
we like if you look at cap, cup, cope, cape, the only thing we changed was the vowel. For second language speakers, they hear 2 or 3 of those, maybe 2 sometimes. So it's where are your lips, where's your tongue, where's your jaw, first the vowels, and then we bring in, you know, of course we don't ignore the consonants, but sometimes I give a vowel seminar where we do an intense focus on the vowels of English.
Wow, that's interesting. Like, do you ever coach in languages other than English? Like if somebody wanted to learn Spanish, like myself, or even
I
so I can
do,
know.
but quite frankly, for instance, you know this actress a couple years back, Diane Guerrero, who's a wonderful Orange is the New Black, wonderful actress.
Mhm.
She really isn't a native speaker. She's from Colombia. Her family was from Colombia. You might have read her book, which was wonderful. One of my other actresses was also considered for the role, but they cast Diane. She was shooting on Nantucket Island, which is one of my favorite places from years ago. She had to have a Spanish accent by the next morning. They were already shooting and they brought her to Nantucket. We stayed up all night to give her a Spanish accent, which she does not have. So we softened the consonants, we took away all of the contractions. Instead of I am happy to see you, you know, I am happy to see you. So I'm happy to see you. The first thing you do is take away the contractions. It's kind of the easy way in. And instead of sharp consonants, we softened them. We channeled her grandmother, and she nailed it. So she was an American who had to have the Spanish accent of her family. And in the film, she was actually supposed to be Cuban in the 1800s. And we just stayed up all night and we did it. She did a fabulous job on it. For Selena, we were looking, there were American actors or Spanish speakers also. They needed just like a slight Tex-Mex accent. But because we had to match the children to one another, the children to the adults to one another, and the adults to living members of Selena's family. So I met with the producers, the showrunner, and we decided on just sort of a watercolor wash of sound, nothing heavy, because they wouldn't be able to sustain it. So I had, oh my God, quite a few actors. The only one I didn't work with was the lead because she was doing a show in Georgia. I think she had her own people. But I really prefer non-native actors. It uses my skill set a little more intensely. So
And
I
what
got you.
are the differences and similarities between teaching classes in English as a second language and one-on-one coaching?
oof. When I do an international class, I can easily have 20 people and 14 languages. So I have to bob and weave and be aware of what the challenges will be for the different language groups. When you work for entertainment, it's not just the sounds, but you really have to anticipate performance needs.
Mhm.
So even though I am not an acting coach, you still wind up sort of dovetailing into the performance part of it, um, to serve the script's needs. It's much more specialized, of course, to work one on one, and we have other factors to consider. So time
Wonderful.
restraints, the changing of the script, where are we shooting, um, the level. If an actor doesn't speak English as a first language, you have to really, really use every trick in the book. Number one, to make them comfortable and feel safe. And don't forget, you're physically touching someone. When you get to the point that you're actually moving someone's articulators, you have had to have set up quite an intimate rapport to make that possible. So it's
There
basic.
is so much to it. It is so very interesting how it all works. It's very necessary part of the industry and any line of work, I would say. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Esther Caporale. We're going to take a momentary commercial break and we will be right back.
Well,
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mupo and Friends. We are here with Esther Caporale. And Esther, so you worked with Dreamworks Animation. Was your approach any different than that of coaching an actor doing a live performance?
Well, they're actors. They're just voice actors.
Yeah.
Um, they brought me in on a few of these episodes because they had the actors' voices had to have a foreign language accent. So we'll say Portuguese or Spanish, French. And these were American actors who were doing quite well, but this needed a little assistance. And in that, it's very unusual. You're in the sound booth with them, with the DreamWorks kind of production people right there watching you. It's kind of interesting. So you really, there's no margin for error in these kind of things. You have to hear it, quickly correct it, and verify that it is correct when it's recorded. And I had suggested naively, well, listen, I have actors from all over the world if you want a native speaker to do that role. But that was not acceptable because these were established actors and voices for those shows. So Yeah, that was the Dreamworks drama. It's kind of fun, but it's a whole different game when you're working with Americans, because Americans aren't used to having a dialect coach.
Right.
Foreign actors are. So
Right.
sometimes you have to go through an education process to get them to relax, to understand that there is a protocol that we follow.
Hmm. So
Interesting.
what would you have done if you weren't a dialogue coach?
Dialect coach.
Dialect coach, I'm sorry. I'm from Jersey.
I've always had something to do with film, either working with scripts. Of course, I worked with a director for many years. I did production and development. I would always have one foot in the entertainment world and another foot with some sort of language work. That's just what I do. Writing, editing. Um, Sometimes we have consuls general who are here in Los Angeles, and they speak their own language all day long because they're with the consulates. And sometimes if they have a big speech to make or a special project, I'll work with them as well. It's been a little strange in the pandemic because most of the time people come to me and they're in my apartment with me, so there's a different kind of connection. But on the other hand, most of my actresses and actors, I'll hear from them for as long as they work in English. There's right now I have 3 actors I've worked with who are up for Goya Awards. Juana Costa, who's a phenomenal Spanish actress from Colombia, lives in Madrid, and another girl, same situation. And the brother of an actor that I work with all the time, who's Mario Casas, who's considered probably the most famous actor in Spain at this moment. His little brother is my student, but I did one little project with Mario. So once you're in that kind of world, they're comfortable. They'll refer a friend to you. I don't do a website. I don't advertise in any way. Carla Hool sends me people, managers, agents say, look, you're a good actor. We love your reel, but you must work on your English. So suddenly I'll get a call from an actor, and sometimes I don't even know where they came from. So if I wanted to send a fruit basket or a thank you bouquet, I don't even know where they came from, but here they are. A lot of joy in this.
Nice. What
A
was it
lot.
like working on Netflix blockbuster Selena? How do you say Selena? Just how
Selena. Well,
Selena.
it's really,
Selena.
it's pronounced, it should be Selena, but it's Selena. They say it's Selena. That was absolutely magnificent because I went twice. They were shooting in Baja, California at the studios where they did the Titanic. So
Oh wow.
super cool studio. And of course, it's a little world within a world when you're on location. Um, I worked for quite a while here in Los Angeles with those actors in my apartment with me. So by the time we got to location, we had established a wonderful relationship. And particularly the little girl who plays the young Selena.
She was adorable.
Mhm.
If you ever get a chance, did you ever hear her sing the national anthem? She brought down the house for 50,000 people at the age of 8. If you Google her and see how
That's my favorite song.
she's an amazing singer. So she plays the young Selena, and very special little girl. And she had never spoken Spanish. Actually, she was with me here in my apartment with her parents. She didn't even know how to roll an R. And later she had to sing in Spanish. So, to work with a prodigy 9-year-old was one of the great moments of my career. Very special
Oh,
people. Very
That's
special.
beautiful.
beautiful.
I happen to like that show. I mean, I don't know why it ended the way it did. I think because of COVID, right? Or is it going to come back to another season or?
I think they might be doing another season, but that was very unusual for me to have that many actors. Normally, I have my actor. I don't usually go to the set, when you have your headphones on and you're looking at different people in a scene. But really, they're very professional. The whole crowd, very, very top notch. Nice show. as
Awesome.
was Disney, because we did Disney during COVID. I must say, Disney handled the pandemic better than the US government at the time.
Wow.
COVID tested every 2 days.
Wow.
Oh, Disney?
Wow.
Mask and a shield, plus we were working with children. So whenever you're working with children, the game is a little more intense because we're very protective of course, children on set. And everything worked very smoothly. We'd drive out to Disney Studios, get tested. They did everything online, and then you were allowed to go to the set. They would temperature check you. I mean, it was extremely well handled. It's a whole new world working during COVID.
It goes to show it is possible. Uh, what sort of non-acting clients do you coach, and how does that coaching differ from your clients in the entertainment industry?
Non-actor clients really are interested in simply being intelligible.
Mhm.
You don't have the element of performance.
Right.
So, for instance, one of my students years ago, Dr. Koki Morozono, was an MD, PhD at the David Geffen School of Medicine. They brought him from Japan because he's an AIDS specialist. He's a microbiologist. So he doesn't need college credit. He needs to be intelligible, and he writes all his own grants. So someone like him, his favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird. We work on, he's a type of man that the way in with him was through literature, in a complex novel for someone who speaks Japanese. So my relationship with him is to just get him comfortable to work with his colleagues. If he had to give a speech or a presentation in English, but that's not performance. It's truly intelligibility and confidence, and to be able to relax through it. Because people stiffen up, just that you're going to do it, we understand what you're saying. And often, again, I will pre-record it for them with pauses so that they can repeat and then correct themselves. And I did sessions with Sergei Kovalov, who is the Russian big famous fighter because of Kathy Duva. He needed English to be able to do interviews, but doesn't like English. It's not his kind of, he's a boxer. um, Someone who's a council member. Again, sometimes I have a woman in Moscow. I do a lot of work with Russia,
Wow. Yeah.
and Kiev, where they own businesses, they have to make presentations, they have to be comfortable in the language. So, I mean, I handle that with the same joy I handle anyone to help them. It's just that you don't have a performance element and the pressure of performance.
Right.
What was your most challenging job that you've had?
In the beginning, it might have been Blue Demon, because I really didn't do my research. Often before I meet someone, I will Google and try to have more information. And I was completely blindsided. When the producer called me, whose office is right near my apartment, and he said, "You got to get here right away. Red alert, red alert." So I walked over, standing at the top of the steps, and there was a producer with the mask on. And I remember thinking, do I look surprised? Do I look casual? I mean, we're in the middle of Beverly Hills, and here is this, clearly wrestler, and working with him because of the limitations of the mask. The mask is kind of heavy silver leather around his eyes and around his mouth. And some of the challenges were due to the mask. To do a low jaw or an ah, we have to factor in the fact that he's wearing a mask. And I've never seen his face. And I've worked with him quite a lot. But that was a bit of a challenge for me, because I'm not looking at the whole face. We're dealing with a masked man. So
Well,
that was
I was going to say, while we're on that topic, just tell us about, can you tell us anything about Blue Demon Jr. and, for the pilot of Ultraviolet and Blue Demon? I mean, I know it was picked up by Disney, but are you allowed to talk about it a little bit?
um, I suggest people, it's really a sweet concept where he has the young girl who is ultraviolet. I don't know how much I can say because I don't think it's been broadcast yet, but it's really got a moral core. It does not make a cartoon out of Blue Demon. He's a real three-dimensional, full-fleshed human being. Excuse me. Um, the special effects are wonderful. It's wonderfully done. Excuse me. The little girl is excellent. I don't know how much I can possibly say, but my relationship with him is a very important one in my life. He's become a very close friend. The whole time we were waiting to see what would happen with the pilot, I worked with him a couple of times a week out of out of support, not being paid, not wanting to be paid. Excuse me, just to keep his skills up so that by the time we were working officially, he was comfortable. You do
When will
that.
it be released?
Excuse me, I really don't have the air date because we were so excited that we have a green light. So
Right.
that I would have to ask the guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back with more with Esther Caporale on Mupo and Friends. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mupo and Friends. We are here with Esther Caporale, and we were talking about Selena, and you were sharing with us a little antidote.
Yes, there is a situation where, of course, it was very well cast. Everyone was doing their job. And there was just a one line where the actress, who was a local hire, a little Mexican girl, and she had to say something like, "I'm her sister." And because she's really not an English speaking actress, she was having tremendous difficulty with it. And we couldn't use much more time. And I looked at this girl. She's a singer. I'd spoken with her earlier, single mom, really struggling, needed a speaking line in the Selena series. And she kept saying, "I'm your sister. I'm her sister," which of course the R in English is more in the lips than it is in the tongue. And I don't know who it was. One of the producers said, "Look, Esther, we've just got to move on." And I felt so sorry for her because this was a huge opportunity for her to have a speaking role, even for one line. So I said, "Just give me 30 minutes with her. Please, just give me 30 minutes." So we went off, we went into one of the trailers and just trying to get her to say sister forward, because I figured if it won't work and they have to dub her or work with ADR with her or someone else, the lips will be in the right position. And we worked for exactly 30 minutes, brought her back outside. She got in the car, she said her line, and I thought that moment for that young woman, single mom with a child, was enormous. And that's a moment that stayed with me for my one of my most pleasant memories of the entire assignment, along of course with working with Madison. But those are those little magical moments where, as in life, you think that life is the big mural moments, the big painting moments, when in fact the sum of your life and your success, it's really a series of little mosaic moments. And that actually was one of my favorite recollections of being on set with the Selena crowd. That girl.
Wow.
That touched my heart. Is that is so compassionate. You could have just said when the director said that, okay,
Because they were
and
going to replace her. They were going
you
to
gave
replace
that
her.
girl a big chance and a wonderful opportunity. You shifted her moment.
Yes.
Right.
And that's where the joy in this type of work, there really is no downside. You know, I don't work with people that I wouldn't feel comfortable with. I'm referred by people whom I really care emotionally a great deal about. I go to their weddings, I go to their funerals. Um, about a year or two ago, Woody Allen was casting out of Spain. So I was getting a lot of calls from my actors who are in Spain who are auditioning. This was a huge moment, you know. So it's not like working with Americans where it's very occasional. When you work with non-natives, the relationship just continues to develop. Why would they bring in someone they don't know when they have someone they know who will go the extra mile with them? So that's the joy of it.
It's wonderful.
What was your
Well,
favorite place to visit while you were traveling?
I fell in love with Puerto Rico, where we
I
did
love the
a
way she
film
says it.
with Juana Costa, who's up for a Goya. That was to be shot in Puerto Rico. We had worked a lot here in LA first, and then I went and spent some time with her for the first few days of shooting to make sure she was comfortable. And the reason I mention it is afterwards the hurricanes hit. And when I saw the way the people were being ignored, tortured, mistreated between nature and the governments, both the American government and the Puerto Rican government, I went back later with a New York friend and spent 2 weeks bringing supplies. We brought things. We went to Home Depot every night. And I have a tremendous tenderness for the island.
Hmm.
have you ever coached an actor that is a personal favorite of yours? And what was that experience like?
Oh my God. They're all favorites for
I,
different reasons.
I knew you.
Um, I think one of the most personally moving situation was with Miguel Angel Silvestre, who was in Sense8. I helped him audition for Sense8. That was the perfect progression: audition, pre-production, production, post-production. When you go through that, it's like boot camp. That's the entire of the experience. But during the time that he was actually shooting, I think they were in Mexico City. I was in Florida as my brother was slowly dying. So I was shuttling between my brother's hospice unit, hospital place, and his home. So I would be with my brother, run back to Miguel Angel, work on the lines, and then go back. So I was going back like this for a couple of weeks. And then one day when I got back to my brother's house, Miguel Angel likes to record things with the bare chest in his bed against his pillow. Very easy on the eye. And he had recorded, now you're talking one of the most well-known actors in Spain. And he became very well known here too in the United States. And he recorded a video and he said, it's for my brother. And he said, Esther's brother, this is Miguel Angel. Your sister loves you so much. I hope you get better soon. He, first of all, I would never have asked him to do such a thing. And I, of course, was in tears. I brought it back and I showed it to my brother. And it was one of the last things my brother ever saw. And he died a couple days later.
Oh.
And I was back here in LA. But to show it to my brother on my phone, and my brother's smile like, my sister. It was such a special thing. For this, I will always bless Miguel Angel Silvestre. Absolutely, I would never have requested such a thing. To do that from his own spirit, from his own sense of friendship, and his own way of comforting me, that's the nature of these relationships, and that's not unusual. That type of liaison, very precious.
Beautiful, beautiful. Language is about relationships. And relationships are about language. So, Esther, I know you have a full plate and you love what you do. You're very passionate about it. But what do you do when you're not coaching, when you're not doing your work? What do you do for fun?
For fun, before the pandemic was Pilates class. I've been dancing ballet all my life. Very much involved in the local ballet work that we do. I do a lot of photography, a lot of writing work. Um, I think the work is pretty much the center of my universe. I work every day. There's rarely a day that I don't have a student or some type of work that I need to do. Do gardening. I grow sunflowers. We have endless sunshine here in LA. And when there's no pandemic, of course, I like to travel. So easy life.
That beautiful life.
Do you have any other projects coming up that you'd like to tell us about?
Um, right now, I'm focused on Blue Demon, and so I will keep myself. I'll do pre-audition work, things like that. But basically, once we start shooting, I believe it'll be location shooting. That'll be my focus right now. It's just great to be able to get the green light. So,
Wonderful. Esther, you are such a dear. Before we wrap things up, we like to do a fill in the blank 3 sentence phrase or statement. I start and you finish it. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever you feel. My passion for language.
comes from
My
being the
passion,
daughter of Italian speakers.
a perfect day.
Good cup of coffee, ballet class, and a needy student.
It's said that French is the language of love, but your language of love is
Language. Goes right back to language.
wonderful. You're so awesome, so amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
taking the time
ladies.
Thank you.
to share your stories and to really give us an incredible insight as to language and how that works. It's so intricate. It's so beautiful, and it comes with a lot of love and compassion on your end. I can see that. Um, please look for Esther Caporale. Her work is on the Netflix series Selena, the Disney Channel's Ultraviolet and Blue Demon, and The Devil Below being released this March. You can follow, like, subscribe to Esther on Facebook under Esther Caporale. That's Esther, capital Caporale, as well as keep Beverly Hills English classes open to the world on Instagram at Esther Caporale, at LinkedIn under Esther Caporale. As always, thank you for tuning in to Mupo and Friends. You can watch courtesy of Mupo TV on www.mupoentertainment.com. That's www.mupoentertainment.com. Until next time, this is Holly Lombardi with our very special guest, Esther Caporale. It's been such a pleasure visiting with you. Please look for Esther Caporale's work on the Netflix series Selena, the Disney Channel's Ultraviolet and Blue Demon, and The Devil Below being released this March. You can follow, like, subscribe to Esther on Facebook under Esther Caporale. That's Esther Caporale, as well as on Instagram at Esther F. Caporale and at LinkedIn under Esther Caporale. As always, thank you for tuning in to Mupo and Friends, courtesy of Mupo TV. You can watch us on www.mupoentertainment.com. That is www.mupoentertainment.com. Until next time, this is Holly Lombardi with our special guest, Esther Caporale, our CEO, mastermind, and creator of Mupo and Friends and Mupo Entertainment. And we are over and out.